Welcome to the Scientific Revolution and Enlightenment Vocabulary Review. The first word we have is the scientific revolution, which we are studying. The scientific revolution occurs in the 1500s. It's kind of when the Renaissance ends and we're moving forward. And what they basically did is they discovered observation and reasoning to explain the world. They began questioning it starts with the questioning of the Earth's position. Does the Earth go around the sun, or does the sun revolve around the Earth? We have, does the Earth revolve around the sun, or the sun revolve around the Earth? We have many discoveries during this time. This is a breakthrough in physics, astronomy, chemistry. The modern world comes out of this scientific revolution. One of the things developed is what all students love, the scientific method. The steps you use to solve a scientific problem. You're most familiar with these through your science class. When you do a lab, when you do a science project. If you watch crime shows, a lot of the things that come out come from this idea of the scientific method. There is a systematic way to solve problems. Heliocentric theory, developed by Copernicus. It is the belief that we have today that the Earth revolves around the sun. Very revolutionary. Copernicus's model is here, perfect circles. It will be changed later by scientists, but this idea that the Earth is not the center of the universe is a big change to thinking and leads to radical new ideas. The Enlightenment. The scientific revolution is dealing with the scientific field. The Enlightenment is dealing with philosophy and man's place in the world and government. It begins in the 18th century, so the 1700s, where they begin to use science and reason to explain the world. They had this idea, the scientific revolution gives us Newton, who can explain why the planets revolve around the sun the way they did. A law explaining so much that they believed during the Enlightenment they were trying to find that one law that explained all of human behavior. Coming out of it with these famous Enlightenment thinkers, we're familiar with Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin, but these two gentlemen are going to be influenced by Locke, and they're going to be influenced by Hobbes, not with his social contract. French will be influenced by Rousseau. So it's an interesting time period. The social contract comes out of this idea. It's the agreement in which people create a government. It's not written down. For example, a social contract we have in this class is you agree to work and I agree to grade you fairly. Nowhere is that written down, but that's what we believe. So a social contract, people give up their freedom for order and create this government. Natural rights, developed by John Locke, seen in the previous slide. Natural rights are those rights you are born with. Life, liberty, property. In the United States, it is life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. These rights cannot be taken away from you. We see with John Locke's ideas of natural rights, he also goes further that if natural rights are not protected, people can overthrow government, which is an Enlightenment idea. So the natural rights, these life, liberty, property, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, still influence us today. Separation of power comes from Montesquieu. It's basically, Montesquieu influences the U.S. Constitution. Functions of government are broken into different branches. You've learned this in your class. This tends to be a U.S. view of the world, that you don't want to put all these powers in one place. And that comes again from the Enlightenment. Religious toleration, we have talked about before, where you can practice any religion. Religions coexist. People practice their religion, and you leave them alone. Voltaire will be one, and this is also going to lead to the idea that the state should be separate from religion. Sovereignty is the right to rule. For example, the U.S. has sovereignty over Puerto Rico. We rule Puerto Rico. That idea that you have a right to rule, which leads to popular sovereignty. And when we have popular, we're dealing with people. People have the right to rule, very much in the idea that the United States has. This idea that people get out, vote, have a say in what goes on in society. Two ideas that we have today, liberal and conservative, a little bit different from how we view them today. 19th century liberal is a person who wanted change, who supports the idea of the Enlightenment, wants freedom of press, freedom of speech, supports limited government. This is an example of democracy in the 19th century where it's the liberal. This is an example of a liberal in the 19th century where they're going against these ideas. A conservative would support aristocracy, a monarch. Liberals are going to go for democracy. Conservative, as I said, is the opposite of a liberal. They want to keep things the way they are. They tend to support government power over individual rights. I picked this because if you think about Miss Keating, she dresses very conservatively. If I was a liberal dresser, I'd have a short little mini skirt and a little halter top to teach in. But a conservative tends to want to keep things the way they are. So with that, I'd like you to take a minute and work on the form that is the next step for your homework. Thank you.